Welcome to the Black Sparrow Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio, for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Cheryl, W5MOO, Russ, K5TUX, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello everybody and welcome. You have tuned into episode number 589 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. Tonight we have a short topics episode for you, so thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. And before we dive into our topics for the evening, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. For the on assignment Cheryl, W5MOO. I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right. So we have some topics to talk about. Some open source, some ham radio. So we should probably get down to it and see what is what. And I guess I'll hit the first one here. So the first one in our amateur radio segment for tonight is HamTV active aboard the ISS. This is a story from a few days ago. It's actually sort of an ongoing thing. I think the testing is over, but the story still remains. The installation of new equipment aboard the ISS, the International Space Station, to re-enable HamTV appears to be successful. Eris reports on Mastodon. See, Eris is putting out news on Mastodon. See how trendy Mastodon has become? That ground stations over Europe had successfully received the HamTV carrier signal on July 29th. Carrier transmissions are expected to continue over the next few days. I believe they did. Additional reports are expected from North American hams. Documentation on receiving HamTV from the ISS is available from the British Amateur Television Club, BATV. Eris provides a live feed of video when the ISS is in range of HamTV receiver stations. There's a pretty extensive wiki over at the British Amateur Television Club that shows you how to receive HamTV when it's active. So if you're interested in that, check it out. And the story itself came from Amateur Radio Daily. So short and sweet. We got some deeper topics now, but there you go. More TV from space. Amateur
Can
TV.
never have enough. Can never
Right.
have enough TV from space. It's where most of it comes from anyway, right?
Right. For those of us who had like C and KU band dishes, we have received video from space. So
Yeah, exactly. The next article here is Amateur Radio Organization signed a Memorandum of Understanding. The ARRL and the Radio Relay International, the RRI, or RE, have announced the signing of an agreement intended to help the organization strengthen key networks essential to ongoing communications during natural disasters and other emergencies. According to an article posted on the ARRL website, the Memorandum of Understanding, or the MOU, between the parties will help the two organizations align their respective efforts to modernize and enhance the National Traffic System, the NTS, the communications network comprised of amateur radio operators across the United States. Specific areas of the NTS targeted for improvement under the MOU include developing additional high-frequency digital networks, continued development of VHF and UHF digital packet radio capabilities, and improved operability with state and local emergency communications organizations and systems. Quote, "We're seeing amateur radio continue to be a vital tool before and during times of crisis," unquote, noted Josh Johnston, ARRL's Director of Emergency Management. Citing the recent devastating floods in Texas and natural disasters associated with last year's hurricane season, he further reinforced the critical importance of the NTS and the amateur radio network. Quote, "Amateur radio works well when all else fails," end quote. And this came to us from In Compliance magazine. And obviously the article they talk about was posted on the ARRL.
Yep. And if you want to read that MOU, or Memorandum of Understanding, there's a link to the PDF of the whole thing in the show notes. So there you go. Even though this kind of thing was a thing. And what is this In Compliance magazine? That's something I'd never heard of before either.
Yeah.
It's a magazine about compliance. Well, I bet that's exciting reading. So,
Yeah. It's like the standards testing, whatever, the IEEE or something like that. It sounds something like they would have.
yeah, exactly. Oh, well, it's a thing, and it's in print. So there you go. Or it might just be e-print, e-ink. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, moving on to our next ham radio topic. We have AST SpaceMobile defends use of ham radio spectrum. AST SpaceMobile plans to use the spectrum in a limited capacity. Still, it faces fierce pushback from amateur radio groups, some of which claim interference is already happening. Facing thousands of complaints, AST SpaceMobile is pushing back against concerns that the company's giant satellites risk interfering with amateur radio operations across the globe. On Tuesday, I think it was this past Tuesday, the company sent a letter to the U.S. Federal Communications Commissions. We don't pronounce that one. Defending its plan to use the 430 to 440 megahertz radio bands outside the U.S. to track and control its proposed fleet of 248 satellites. I mean, why do they have to use 430 to 440? Surely there's another part of the radio spectrum that would also work, but yeah, whatever.
You would think.
You would think. Especially since this is satellite communications. I'm pretty sure ground to satellite works on like any band. So, let's see. Where did I drop off? The community flooded the FCC's online system with over 2,500 comments, many of them protesting AST's plans to use the spectrum. AST SpaceMobile finally responded by telling the FCC that it has designed its satellites to, quote, mitigate interference, unquote, with amateur radio bands, which is to say they did nothing at all. In addition, the company has submitted an analysis from a third-party company, RKF Engineering Solutions, which found the risk of interference to amateur radio operators to be, quote-unquote, extremely unlikely. AST is urging the FCC to greenlight its plan to launch and operate commercial services over its 248 satellite constellation, which is designed to beam connectivity to everyday smartphones. The resulting system will compete with SpaceX's cellular Starlink service, which is already available through T-Mobile. On Tuesday, the American Radio Relay League, the ARL, sent its own letter to the commission highlighting the stiff opposition across the amateur radio community to the spectrum use. Some amateur radio groups claim to have detected interference in Europe from AST's fleet of existing satellites already. AST said, quote, despite contrary claims from some amateur radio commenters, AST SpaceMobile is not transmitting in the 430 to 440 megahertz band on the BB1s or BW3, end quote. Still, one amateur radio group has detected evidence that AST merely shut down the radio communications from the Blue Walker 3 satellite 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, shady business dealings. So,
yeah. I don't understand why they're using 430 to 440. It's only 10 megahertz wide. It's hardly wide enough to do anything useful with. I mean, an HD channel is, I think, wider than that. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense.
They're not using it at all, and it's not causing interference, but there's a pretty big hoo-ha about it. So, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I guess we will see what comes of this, because there was another article from the ARRL outlining what its comments to the FCC were. So you can check that out as well. I will try and link that in the show notes too, if you're interested in all of this squabble over bandwidth, which is happening all the time, everywhere, anytime you turn around.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the end of our radio topics for tonight, specific radio topics. So I guess we'll move into the world of open source, and we'll talk a little bit about some Linux goodness.
Yeah, and the first one we have here is Linux 6.17 getting more rusty with many Rust language additions. Yay! The little crab is happy. Rust changes for Linux 6.17 include enabling a new set of Clippy lints, extending a number of the Rust crates used for the Linux kernel, and also adding some additional code reviewers to the maintainers file for the Linux kernel. The kernel crate, meanwhile, adds a new bug module, add warm on, exclamation mark macro. Sorry, warn on. Yeah, warn underscore on exclamation mark macro. Don't even know what that means. Delayed work items for the work queue module, support for bit and gen mask functions in the bits module, and improvements to a variety of other Rust kernel crate modules. The pin init crate has also seen a number of additions too. This came to us from an article over on Phoronix, which of course is following the readers list from the Linux kernel mailing list. So lots of good stuff coming into for Rust, at least coming into the new kernel. So we should be able to start seeing that stuff pretty soon on you Edge distros out there.
Well, I will admit a certain amount of ignorance about Rust as a programming language, but when it comes to kernels, things that sit very close to the hardware layer, shouldn't these be written in level or languages that are as low level as possible for low overhead and stuff? I'm assuming that there's a compiler or a layer in Rust programming that's above something like C or C++.
I think it's probably more equivalent to C and C++.
Okay, well that's good then. I wonder, is it just because Rust is so uber popular right now that we're writing in Rust and we just can't be bothered with C++ or C anymore?
I mean, the crustaceans would argue that the language is more syntactically correct and much easier to understand when you're doing hard things. And it also has better memory handling and memory allocation behaviors that you have to manually code in pointers and stuff like that in C and stuff like that. So there's some distinct advantages to using Rust. It already has the memory safe stuff sort of built into the compiler and everything else. So you tend not to put yourself into a situation where you haven't managed your memory properly for your application.
Right, and I sort of understand that there are definitely some limitations, and you can run into like buffer overruns and stuff like that, and see where you have to manually allocate menu. But doesn't that also make it more efficient to have explicitly defined the memory management rather than let something sort of auto handle it?
Well, I mean, you sound like an old graybeard when you say that. So.
I guess that's exactly what I am.
So this is a new kid on the block, and it's not. I mean, Rust really isn't that new. It's really good at what it does, and I don't see anything really stopping its progression into this area, just because there's a lot of traction under its movement.
Right. I'm just thinking, like I said, because the kernel sits basically at 0.1 above the hardware layer, you want it to be as agile and efficient as possible, I guess. But
I mean, C's an abstraction too. It's not like it's running C.
Right. I mean, it's not machine language or
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
no, I totally get it. They're not writing zeros, but I mean,
yeah.
If it's just as compilable and just as efficient in compiled form as something like C++, then obviously it's just fine. So
yeah, I think so. And this is obviously more modern, and people are definitely on that Bandcamp. And we don't want to be the guys that are complaining about I still should have just C in here and C++, because those are the guys that are like, we should still have COBOL running Fortran. Stuff that's been outdated for a long time that we still have in production.
Well, right. And the other thing is, I think we're far less concerned about like IOPS at this point because, everything's so much faster.
Yeah. The trade-offs are kind of, a little bit different circumstances these days. We don't have 16, bytes of memory, 16 kilobytes or whatever.
Right. Exactly. All right. Yeah. Don't have to limit our commands to less than 3 characters anymore. Stuff like that. All right. So next on the list here, we have Arch Linux users at risk again as AUR hit by another rat. The rats, they're infesting. Merely a few weeks ago, AUR was hit by a rat that just, so tell me what rat is. Rogue something.
Yeah,
you don't
what
even
does that
know.
mean?
All right.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. It's a remote access Trojan. Sorry, remote access Trojan.
Trojan horse. Yeah. So it disguised itself inside browser-related packages and infected systems during the install process using a malicious GitHub link embedded in the package build script. Now a similar case has emerged where a new package pretending to be Google Chrome, I actually use that one too, has been caught carrying another hidden rat script. What's happening? A file named Google Chrome stable had made its way into the AUR, uploaded by a newly created user called Forz Nonstop, who had no other activity other than this, according to Linuxiac, I assume. The package used a .install script to run a Python command that downloaded and executed remote code each time the Chrome browser was launched. Boy, gonna have to check my system now. The code runs silently in the background with no visible signs to the user. Luckily, the package was quickly removed by AUR admins once it was reported by a user. Oh, fun. Now I got to go check stuff. That came to us from It's Foss News. So there you go. Fun. The world of open source, where things like this
if you
happen.
already had the Google Chrome stable and sorry.
Yeah,
keep walking over.
No, go ahead. Yeah, that's okay. Let's just stomp on each other.
I'm sure we were both talking like perfectly on the recording. It's just that because it records us independently. We just can't hear each other when we talk over each other. I was just going to say, if you already had Google Chrome stable installed from the original package, you wouldn't have really been affected by it. It would have been affected by users just installing it for the first time, because it would have been one of the package options for them to install. So that would be the concern, would be newer users or people just installing this application, assuming that any of the responses are good.
All right, then I'm probably safe because I've had Google Chrome installed for quite some time now. So
yeah, I don't think that would be a problem for existing users.
All right, fantastic. Well, anyway, at least it was found out. It's out in the wild, and we know about it. So, and it's been stomped. Somebody stepped on the rat. So there you go.
Smushed it.
Anyway, we have one more story in open source, and we'll let Bill get down through it.
Yeah, and this one is something I ran into looking around for stuff, and this was don't struggle with flatpaks. Warehouse gives easy control on any distro. And I still haven't installed and used this yet. I kind of want to look at it now that I found this article. But here's the article. The problem with Flatpak apps is that they can be a bit challenging to manage, especially for those who might not be familiar with a command line. Fortunately, Warehouse is an app that was designed specifically for managing Flatpak apps. It's open source, licensed under GPL v3, and it includes features like managing installed Flatpaks, view the properties of installed Flatpak package, change the version of a Flatpak app to avoid unwanted updates, like if you want to pin a Flatpak at a certain version, pin runtimes and also masks of Flatpaks, filtering packages and sorting data, see current app user data so you can actually see inside where it's saving stuff, clean up any unused data, add popular Flatpak remotes and add customer remotes with ease. So it's much easier to add some random endpoint source for your Flatpak, which may or may not be secure. Take snapshots. Take snapshots of your app's user data. Install new packages from any remote or from local storage. Warehouse is very easy to use and should be considered a must for anyone who installs a lot of Flatpak apps and wants to have at least a modicum of control over them. Interesting word. And this came to us from Phosphorus. And I mean, I don't know. My distro updates all my Flatpaks, so I don't really have to spend too much time playing around with them. And I think even Linux Mint does that too. So, but I will take a look at it just because it kind of has a nice looking interface and stuff like that. But yeah, if you just tiptoeing into Flatpaks and want something to manage them or a better little discoverability mechanism, the Warehouse might be an option for you.
All right, very good. Since I try my level best not to use any Flatpaks, I probably will not be exploring this package or this software, but we'll see what happens, especially with the Arch systems where there are other ways to install things. I mean, I don't know that there isn't another way to install pretty much everything I've tried to install that's also a Flatpak, whether it be from source or whatever. So
Yeah, generally Arch boxes don't like flatpaks. they typically try to make sure that they don't work out of the box easy. You have to spend a little time trying to finagle the app user space and everything else to work properly.
Yep, absolutely. And because flatpaks are sandboxed, it can be challenging to find like where your user data is because it's installed inside the structure of the flatpak, not in your like .local and stuff like that. So yeah. But this apparently helps with that as well. So Steve says, cool. I agree with AUR. I have no issue getting any package I want. It has changed my Linux experience. Yes.
Especially the rat ones. The rat packages come in great.
I could probably go back through this through all the episodes that we've ever recorded, and I'd be willing to bet there's more than a few out there where I say Arch is like evil, and I don't understand Arch, and I'll never use Arch.
Oh, I have said that many times, and also in using Manjaro, I think we did a couple of Linux in the Ham Shack Radio Ready scores where Manjaro was scored down because the first kernel update exploded on impact.
And now we're like, Arch is the best thing ever. I'd like to have honey dripped in Arch for now. So, yeah. How times change. Anyway, that's all the stories we've got for tonight. So we do have one bit of feedback, and this is a YouTube comment on one of the videos that Bill did. So I'll let him read this and address it, although there's really nothing to address.
Sure. This is a YouTube comment on the Commodore OS Vision 3 video from Tony Storka, maybe? He said they should have made sure it was easy to use as a GNOME. This is more difficult than KDE. I don't know. I mean, is it really? It kind of feels. What did we figure out? It wasn't it like XFCE or something like that? That it is. It's pretty easy to use.
I think it's like XFCE or LXDE or something, just highly super customized.
Yeah,
or it might actually be KDE.
No, I don't think it's KDE. It's definitely one of the other ones. But it's heavily modified, so but it has a start menu. Come on, it's easy to use. GNOME doesn't even really have a start menu. You have the Windows 8 looking start menu in GNOME, and yes, I mean it. It still works. It is Windows 8ish.
And I'll also take issue with the thing about it being difficult as KDE. Now, if we were talking about KDE 10 years ago, I would totally agree with the comment. But if anything, I find KDE super easy to use nowadays. And on my systems, it is what I use. I love KDE on Arch. So particularly the Manjaro, variant. And I don't think it's difficult at all to use. Certainly no more difficult.
Maybe this user's running a 10-year-old version of KDE, or the last time they messed with KDE was 10 years ago. It could just be context. They just don't have the same context that we do, where, I'm a habitual distro jumper. So,
yeah, absolutely. And Steve says, yes, I use the toolbar with the application menu in XFCE, but I am fine without it. 95% of apps I can just launch with the command line. Yep. Super R is your friend, right?
Yeah. Flag R.
It works on anything, right? Super R. Any desktop environment's pretty much adopted that convention. Yeah. All right. Well, that actually go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, I just did it on top of that screen and it didn't work for my system. So, but I have an abomination on this box. This one's running Budgie. So Super R.
Yeah, this is Mac OS, so I'm not even trying it.
It'd be probably like Command R, Apple R.
Yeah, let's see. What does Command R do? It redrew my. That's what Command R does.
Classic.
Same as Control R. Yeah. So.
Flag would be Option R, right?
Oh yeah, Option R. So let me see. Option R seems to do nothing. So there you go.
How many more keys do you have? Jeez.
Well, I've got Control, Option, Command.
Oh, it should be Command R. Isn't it Command R? Because that's like where you do Control C, right? Command C, Command X, Command R.
Well, in Mac OS, it's the same as Control R, which redraws the screen. At least in that browser.
Chrome.
Safari.
Safari. Oh my God. Are you actually running Safari?
I actually am running Safari.
Oh, that's so sad. Like, who runs Safari on a Mac? Jeez.
I use this Mac for exactly one thing.
Apparently running Safari. And Discord.
Right, exactly. So anyway, let's move on. We're down to the end of the topics for tonight. So we do have our usual announcement about helping to support the show if you can financially via Patreon, PayPal, buying some merch, and subscribing over on YouTube. Of course, subscribing to our normal feed is also nice. And you can even subscribe over on Patreon as a free Patreon if you want to, just to see how stuff comes out over there. Usually it comes out a little earlier. You get it on Patreon faster if you're a paid subscriber. If you're not, you get it, at the normal time when everybody else does. Or you can just listen to it live and then you've heard the show before anybody. So there you go. For our new subscriber supporters and live participants, we do have a few folks to mention here. We had some people join us over on Mastodon. We have Alex S, DK3JF, and Menel Pennell, something like that. On Discord, we had F1RIQ Anthony and someone called I Scam You, who made it clear that he's not a scammer. We have yet to be sure about such things. We'll see. I have not been scammed so far. So there we go.
Yeah, so far.
On the mailing list, we had a few more people join up. I don't know where the mailing list showed up and is attracting all of these new people, but thanks for joining over there. We really appreciate it. We had Steve Maitan, KG4CGZ, Bob Helms, and WM0S. Thanks for joining us over on the mailing list. We really appreciate it. Maybe all these new people will spark some discussion about Linux in the Ham Shack. That would also be very cool. And in the live chat tonight, it was a little light, but we had a couple of folks join us, and we appreciate that. We had Steve KJ5T and Patrick KR4ELN. I don't know if that Kilo Romeo 4 is like a recent, like, is that where they are in Foreland, Kilo Romeo?
Oof.
It can't be that far down, can it?
I mean, they could be, but that seems awfully high.
Yeah, it does. Very high. But I don't know. Foreland has a lot of hams, so there you go. And there's running back to Steve's comments, not sure if they call it Sherlock on Mac, but I use that to launch apps not in my dock. Apparently it's been called Spotlight. Oh yeah, Spotlight's a thing over on my M1 Mac, but I don't use it. So, because again, I use this Mac for exactly one thing.
So, don't you get that for like Command Spacebar or something silly like that?
Let me see, Command Spacebar. Yeah, Spotlight pops up. So there you go.
Yeah. See, I know my Mac. How about that?
But you apparently don't run Safari. So
no, yeah, I can't descend to those depths of depravity, I guess.
I have Chrome on here. Because I literally fire it up just for the Etherpad. I mean, Safari works fine. So
yeah.
Anyway, so thanks to everybody who joined over on the social medias. Thanks to everybody who supports the show financially and helps keep the lights on. We really appreciate that. And thank one and all for tuning into our Short Topics episode number 589 of Linux in the Ham Shack. We will be back in a week for the Weekender, so we hope you'll join us for that. And in the meantime, we hope you have a great week, an enjoyable week, and one that's not too hot, like it's going to be here. But, it is what it is. So with that, we're going to get on out of here and let you get back to whatever it was you were doing. For the On Assignment Cheryl, W5MOO, I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD 73.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. Live recordings are Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time. Our homepage can be found at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast via Patreon at patreon.com/LHS Podcast. We're also on Discord, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and Mastodon. Contact us via email at info@lhspodcast.info or via voicemail at 190954777469. That's 1909 LHS Show. We also have merch. So until next we meet, remember to always heed your hedonism.